Okay, we're going to get started. I'm so glad that you're all here. This is the social work session. My name is Luci Hoppe, and I am the undergraduate social work program director, and we'll be sharing some with you today. I'm also joined by a few of our students, and so I'm going to have them introduce themselves before we begin.
Hi, I'm Gabby Pointer. Like Professor Hoppe said, I am a current master's in social work student at Baylor, but I also got my bachelor's in social work at Baylor as well.
And my name is Megan Salinas, and like Gabby, I'm a MSW student. Me and Gabby both graduated from Baylor last year in May, and this year we're getting to graduate with our masters in just another month. So that's me.
That's great. And Megan and Gabby will be able to answer some questions that you have in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and move through our content. So our school is named the Diana R. Garland School of Social Work, and that's my name if you want to shoot me an email or you have a question about anything that we covered today. So social work is a helping profession. It is a professional program. Some folks that are newer to social work, I will equate our professional program track to a degree like nursing. So, something that you might not be thinking about now, but you certainly will be soon, is where your major lands you in terms of employment. And so a professional program really takes students straight to candidacy for licensure, and is a really strong pathway to a career. So our goal in social work is to improve the experiences of society and humans and organizations and communities, with an emphasis on populations that are more vulnerable or historically marginalized or oppressed. We kind of, like I mentioned, with the professional degree, social work is a protected title in Texas. So you can't, even if you're very loving and you care about people and you want to be a helper, or you have a job in a social service organization, you are not allowed to call yourself a social worker. Similarly to, you can't just call yourself a speech pathologist or a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer. You have to have that licensure. So we have a very high licensure passage rate in the school, which we're really proud of. So that means that our students leave very well prepared for the licensing process, and to get a job. And our graduates tend to get promoted pretty quickly outside of, once they graduate. You probably have seen or known of a social worker, but you might not have known that at the time. So I have a couple of slides here that show the various roles that social workers are in, and you'll notice that it's really diverse. So about 50% of therapists in the United States are social workers. So if you're interested in counseling or therapy, social work is a great pathway to that. It also is a degree plan that leaves a lot of room for students who are maybe bigger scale thinkers. So we call that macro social work. So you'll see some titles listed here, like a director of government relations, or maybe a community organizer, an executive director of a nonprofit. So those are some macro examples of social work. And then we have really clinical, or what we call micro areas of practice too, where you might be working one-on-one with someone. So you'll find social workers in schools, in the for-profit world. Social workers are getting hired in human resource departments a lot right now. The Master's of Social Work degree is one of the fastest growing graduate degrees in the nation. And part of that is because social work has a lot of utility to it. So there are a lot of different options that you have with social work. So that's one of my favorite things about it, especially for undergraduates. I think it's important for students to be able to know where kind of a direction that they're going, but maybe not have to pick exactly what they're going to do with it yet. So I describe social work as a multi-lane freeway. So you know that you want to get on that freeway, you know you want to get on I-35 North, but you're not really sure what lane of I-35 North you want to get on yet, and that's okay. The social work degree really leaves you room to start going in a direction of what I hear most often from our students, which is I want to make a difference. I want to be part of something bigger than myself. And I want to do meaningful work. I'm just not quite sure how that's going to express itself yet. So these are a couple of things that we really focus on in the Garland School that make our our students' experiences unique. We have pretty small class sizes, so your faculty will know you. They will, some things I say are, I know if my students have a peanut allergy. I know if their mom came to visit. I can tell if they haven't slept very well lately. So we have a really good faculty to student ratio. We are located downtown. So I'm from Houston. So if you told me something was downtown, that would be an hour away. And Waco, downtown to main campus is 5 minutes away. So it's definitely part of the Baylor campus, but we're housed with other departments at Baylor that are more community facing. We have a lot of undergrads that stay for our MSW, and Megan and Gabby talked briefly about that. So about 50% of our undergraduates will stay for an additional year. So if you're in good academic standing, you basically get credited for a year of your graduate school, which is typically 2 years. And so you can exit in 5 years with your undergraduate degree and your master's degree. And then the other couple things I'll mention are that we have a focus on faith and practice in the Garland School. So social work has a very storied relationship with faith. It began in some ways from persons driven by their faith values, and for many, many years separated from that. And something that we do in the Garland School is to ask the question how people's worldview and values influence their life and how that might be important as we seek to serve them. So obviously Baylor is a Christian institution. The way that we teach that competency is to realize that is actually part of the human experience, no matter what someone's religious or faith affiliation is, or if they identify as non-religious, that their identification as of being non-religious is an important part of who they are. The last thing I'll mention here is that we have some joint degrees in our MSW. So I know that you're not thinking about graduate school yet, but if you consider that we have a 5-year option, we do have students that stay and do an MBA and an MSW or a public health degree and a social work degree. So it's really complementary with some other disciplines in that way. So I'm going to talk a little bit about courses and knowing your degree plan. So your sophomore year as a social work student, you enter as pre-social work your freshman year, and you take social work 1101. So you will hear about new student experience courses, which are usually referred to as NSE courses, but we say it really quickly, NSE. So our NSE is social work 1101 that's taken freshman year. Sophomore year is typically when our students take introduction to social work and then human diversity and leadership. So Those are great courses to get to know what social work is and to understand our commitment to social justice and diversity. And then our students really get into the main course sequence. Junior year is really the heart of that course sequence. So we've got a practice sequence of courses and then a theory sequence of courses. So fall of junior year, our students take Human Behavior in the Social Environment 1. That is a micro theory course. So students learn about lifespan development. And then practice 1, which is how to interview people. It feels a lot like a communications class in that way. If you think about the foundational skills of communications and providing therapy, or learning how to talk to a stakeholder or a board president, that's where those very specific skills are learned. In the spring, students are in a macro theory course, which is Human Behavior in the Social Environment 2. And then in 2 different practice courses, one course is how to run groups. So we cover how to run a task group, a coalition, a board, a treatment group, a grief group. And then our other practice course, which is a macro practice course. So that course content covers community practice, so larger scale practice. One of the, my slide is not advancing. There we go. We've got some electives. They rotate some, but some students will take Intro to Social Work as an elective if they're unsure of their major, and it will count toward their degree plan. We have a Leadership in Enneagram course. Some of you may have heard about the Enneagram. We've got other electives related to trauma, loss, and mourning, crisis intervention, basically different areas of practice that our faculty are experts in. We house different minors in the school. And I think this may be skipped over. I'm sorry about that. I'll pause and go back to the minors because I want to be sure to give some time to explain our internship process. So senior year, our students are in an internship 16 hours a week. So you leave college with your professional resume already rolling. So you've already got a professional job experience on there. You complete the internship under a social worker, and have a course that we give you course credit as part of that completion. And then we also have a pretty heavy statistics portion of our degree plan, which for some of you that love math, that sounds great. For some of you that feel allergic to math, just know that statistics serves our students so well, and is a really competitive thing for you to have once you enter the job market. And then we've got a social policy class that we offer too. Okay, we house a couple of minors in the school, so we do get questions about minors. We have 3 minors: poverty and social justice, gerontology, and civic and interfaith studies. If you major in social work, you can minor in anything at Baylor. If you major in social work and you want to study abroad, you can do that. So I know that at this point in your orientation to the college experience, figuring out how minors function with a major is something that can feel a little confusing. So you don't have to minor in anything. If you want to pick up a minor, it doesn't have to be one of the minors housed in social work, but that does give you an idea of some of our faculty's areas of expertise and content that we talk about in social work. All right, I think that we've got about 10 minutes for questions. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I see a question about, the question is, can I do this major with the pre-med track? Do you think it's wise to combine the two? Yes and yes. So you can do this major on the pre-med track. You can do this we have a lot of students who are pre-law. So if anyone's in here interested in that, I actually went to law school out of my undergrad and majored in social work. And that's a really good fit. One of the emerging areas of social work practice is called integrated behavioral health. And it is housed in medicine. And so there's a real overlap between the medical field and social work. So we find a lot of social workers in those contexts. I see another question about when you should apply as an international student. I think that's Jordan may have that answer for us from admissions, from university admissions. I think that the timeline would be the same based on any admissions information that you find on the Baylor website. But Jordan, you might correct me if I'm missing something there.
Yes, you are correct. So there's no difference in timeline for international versus domestic applicants. For everybody, the application for fall 2023 is going to open up on August 1st.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions? There are no silly questions. I know you might be in here and think, I've met a social worker, but I'm not really sure what it is, or could you explain it a little bit more? We really get students from a wide variety of interests. We do get many students who are interested. We get a lot of students in our master's program that did something like psychology or sociology as an undergrad, but they had a harder time finding a career path with that major. So if you're in here kind of thinking through that, that's common. We pull from psychology and sociology theories. The difference with social work is that we're giving you some really specific boots on the ground skills that go with that. The same would be true for anyone interested in something like criminal justice. So if that's helpful. So one question says, can I level up from MSW to PhD? What would the PhD of social work be? Yes, there are PhDs in social work. There are also doctorates of social work. So that's the DSW degree. That wouldn't be any different than any other type of PhD program that you would think through. One difference, I think, is that if you picked a program like ours and you were able to be on an accelerated track, you're going to only spend 1 year in grad school for your MSW. So that there is a time saver from that perspective. But we do have quite a few students that finish their MSW and pursue doctoral study, or they go into practice and then go back for their doctorate once they have a little bit more experience. We do have a PhD program in the Garland School also. I'll wait for a minute. I know some of you might just be kind of thinking through your questions. Megan and Gabby, is there anything that you might add to what I shared? I'll answer this question and then have y'all answer. So there's a question that says, do you recommend specific courses to take in high school? I recommend that students really work on writing. Social work education is writing heavy. And we also really move, and Gabby and Megan could probably speak a little better to this from the student perspective, but social work includes a lot of technical writing. And so some of your K to 12 education around writing is more long form. So our students write a lot of papers. So, working on writing would be a course that works on writing would be something that I would recommend. I have a high schooler and she's taking a human, like an anthropology course, and she's really learning more about human experiences with social issues. I think that anything like that would be helpful. And then, if you ever had a technical writing course, it can feel like, at least for me, when I was a social work student, that I was trained to write in long form in high school. And then I actually double majored in Spanish. So then I'm writing long form in modern foreign languages. And then in social work, figuring out how to really distill my writing to be very concise, because we do a lot of documentation and almost like charting in clinical social work. And I think, any type of communications, especially oral communications is important. We do a lot of that though in our degree program. So if you don't have time to do any of that, that's okay. You're going to get plenty of it in the program.
I can add to what Professor Hoppe has shared. I will say, if you are interested in the school social work, I would definitely look into minoring. Even if you are interested in another major, you can always minor in the school social work. You'll still be in classes with professors, and you'll have some social work like content. And then you can also add one of those classes to your courses and take it to see if you like it.
And I would say that I guess something unique about the social work program is just having that internship where you're able to like take all those things that you've been learning in your classes for the past couple of years and put it like into real practice and get to meet with real clients and whatever population you're interested in working with. I know that that's helped prepare me a lot. I think that the school social work has really prepared me professionally to go into working with the population I want to work with. And Professor Hoppe mentioned, taking the licensing exam and everything like that. And I actually took mine last week and I passed. So I can say that the school, it definitely prepares you for things like that. And it helps you, find employment afterwards and just know that you'll be able to be a social worker. So I think it's a really great program.
Yeah, I'll add too that, some folks come in and really what they know of social work is that they equate it with CPS or child welfare, which I worked in child welfare and it's very meaningful work. That is a very small percentage of what you can do with a social work degree. So, you would probably be surprised at some folks doing more macro level work, that they're actually have an MSW. So, a grant writer or someone who works with large philanthropic organizations or works at the city or state level. And there certainly are a lot of clinical opportunities too. One thing that I think we don't talk enough about is employment after school, because your goal with school is what you're going to do with your degree. But you can make a great living as a social worker. I think that's a kind of something associated with social work is, can I make money doing that? Can I support myself? And the answer is yes, you can, and be really competitive in the job market. I see another question. Can you get employment without further education after a bachelor's in the social work field? Yes, you can. So that is also a licensed, enough of education to sit for licensure. So you could sit for a license for baccalaureate level social work. Most of our students that do grad school will wait to sit for licensure. So they know they're going to complete their MSW, and they'd wait and sit for the master's level licensure. But we do have students who decide to get a different kind of graduate degree. So they have a bachelor's in social work, and I have multiple students a year that get their BSW, and then they go to law school, or they get a master's in public administration, a master's in public health. go to med school. So it is, I think, because it really helps you, the major really helps you understand the human experience and how systems work. It really is complementary with other professional goals. So it can still be a really strong selection of a major if you don't see yourself in direct practice, because you have a goal, a graduate school goal that's different than social work. Okay, it looks like we're at time. And we're being asked if we could just add one thing that drew us to social work. I think the one thing that drew me was that I wanted to make a difference. And I didn't know about social work until I came to Baylor. I went to Baylor for my undergrad. And I had a friend that took intro to social work. I just didn't know that there was a career path that would give me credentials and qualifications to do that. And in ways where I would really have a choice later on in life to pivot how I used it. So that's my main draw. Gabby and Megan, you want to finish us out?
Sure. I can say what drew me to social work was just seeing problems in my community. I am from the DC area, and then I've also spent some time in Arkansas, and just seeing how society does play a role in our lives, even though sometimes it feels like it's on the outside, but it does influence us in our communities. And so just seeing the need there and feeling like I could possibly make a difference is what drew me to social work.
Yeah, and I mean, same here, just wanting to make a difference. And I think the thing specifically about social work that I really liked is just the diversity and things that you can do with the degree in social work. I know that for myself, I can get kind of restless being in the same place or like in the same role for too long. So having my degree in social work, I know that I can pivot to do, micro social work, and or I can do macro or even meso. So I think that it gives you a lot of freedom, which is what drew me.
Thank you. Well, thanks for attending our time. It's good to get to share with you all, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.